Hello, welcome to another episode of Unlocked. Courtney Gardner is someone that I met through a speaking engagement. I was speaking to a group of Keller Williams individuals who were all flying in to the Atlanta area, and I was brought in to talk a bit about leading yourself well, developing your personal brand, and just communicating effectively as leaders. And as we I was mingling and talking and other people came into my life. Well, Courtney is one of those people. And Courtney and I were talking a few weeks ago about putting together some programs and doing some other things. And I said, oh my gosh, I've got to have Courtney on my call, on my show, because she's got something. She's got some energy. She's got something in there. You're going to hear it in the interview. And you're going to go, oh, I get it. Now I know why Scott wanted to have her on this show. It's really interesting when you hear her drive, when you hear the things where she came from and what has made her who she is today. Yes, it has a lot to do with the Keller Williams culture, but it has mostly to do with her. And I want you all to capture that. And the community that you involve yourself with is important. What's more important is you and how you lead yourself well through this life. Are you working to unlock your own potential in ways that is empowering, that is giving, that is building you up, and therefore you're able to build others? We're going to get into this interview. We're going to talk about the big why. We're going to talk about her story. We're going to talk about a bunch of little things in there that are, you're going to get some entertainment out of this too. It was fun talking to her. So here we come, Courtney. Let's talk a little bit about this big why. Hello, Courtney.
Hello, Scott.
I am so excited to talk to you. And we were talking about something a long time ago. And I said, oh my gosh, do you want to be on my show? And you're like, I guess. And I said, very cool. And now we're on the show and now we're talking and we're going to just explore some cool stuff because you keep saying cool things and I forgot to record them. So you're going to have to say more cool things.
Well, I'm a cool lady, so.
That is true. That is very true. Go ahead and give us some scoop on you. I want to hear, how did you land where you are right now? Because you're killing it. And I want to know what you're doing and how you got here.
Interesting. Interesting, actually. And somehow I don't really know how I got here, but I kind of know how I got here. So I have a resume that on paper makes no sense to hire me for my role in Keller Williams. I work for the Southeast region. We do the luxury division down here. But on paper, you really wouldn't hire me for this job, except it's the perfect set of skills that brought me there. So I worked in high finance for a while. I got bored with that, and I went and worked in new home construction, and I was like, I don't like that. Then I did interior design. Then I had a baby, and then I went and worked in film and television, and then I was just seeking something new. And a friend of mine said, hey, they need your help with this marketing. And so I went and worked for a real estate team. And then 2 years after that, I got a call from the owner of the Southeast region, well, co-owner, she has a partner. And she said, I'm hiring you for this job. And I said, why? Why? I've only done like two little things. And so now I'm in this path where I help thousands of agents with their luxury business. And I talk to a lot of cool people and get to do a lot of cool stuff. But it started with when I turned 40, I took a look at my life and said, oh, this is a benchmark year. And your entire life, you've been fighting for, clawing for, and making things happen in your life. And you still don't have this peace that you would want to have after you've reached some level of success. Why is that? Maybe it's because you're saying no to things because you think it needs to be on this certain path to meet the plan for you to get to the goal. And maybe you just start saying yes to things. And so I started saying, yeah, I'll do that. And 2 years later, I ended up here. Isn't that strange? I got here because I said yes.
But look at all the stuff you did to get here.
Yeah.
Tell me, so, incidental meetings, incidental things are not incidentals, what one of my other guests
No.
said. There's some reason you went on this like crazy connect the dots path, and then all of a sudden you're landing here. Um,
Yeah.
and all those things that you gathered from those past jobs, those past experiences, incorporate themselves into doing what you're doing now. Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I use all of it almost every single day. And if I didn't have it, I would constantly be trying to learn and fill a void. But because I'm a person who follows their foot naturally, like, oh, that's the next thing I need to pursue. And but I've always forced it. I've always been like, I'm going to find this thing and do that thing and get this done. And then when I turned 40, I just said, I feel like I've worked hard enough. Maybe there's some doors that I'm missing because it's not in my sort of blinder vision of things that need to be done. And now I have no real power, but I sit next to power. So it's very interesting. And opportunities just started opening up. Would you like to do this? I think you would be great for that. Can you help me with this? Yeah. And so I just get to meet really cool people and help them make their lives better from a day-to-day basis. And I still have grumpy days. There's a
What?
salty lady who lives in here. Oh,
You
yeah.
do?
Fiery. There's a fire that lives inside of this body. And then an angel who goes, mm, maybe don't say that. Okay.
Okay. Do you listen to that angel?
Like 37% of the time.
That's pretty good.
We're working on her batting average, but yeah.
That's pretty good. That's better than some of the
Yeah.
people I coach. So well done.
Eh,
That's awesome.
well, I also look like a kindergarten teacher, so people naturally assume I'm nice, but I'm not always nice.
Oh, those kindergartner teachers. I was just like, you
Hmm.
know, you think like when you have the parent days, you come in there, you're like, oh, she sounds really sweet. And then like by day 7, your child's crying when they come home from school. And so,
Yeah. Well, it's usually because you told the kid no, but whatever.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I grew up in rough neighborhoods, so there's some I'm not taking that from you in me, but most of the time I'm pretty chill.
So what instilled that in you? What this instilled this? So you've jumped from thing to thing. You're kind of like, oh, I'm not ready for that. I'm bored with that. I'm gonna go to this. I'm bored with that. I'm gonna go to this. And you're kind of like
Yeah,
it seems like you were looking for something, or
yeah,
you were just always trying to achieve something, or you're working towards something, and there's this fire in you, you said, and I
I
don't
am
want to
fire.
settle. I want to be that. I want to be better. Or I want, like, what is that thing that was driving you that was just like, and then where did it come from?
It definitely comes from my childhood. I always knew I wanted different than what was around me. Um, I don't know really what triggered that. I feel like I vaguely remember being at this barbecue. My mom married a new man, and he was in the army, and he had a high rank. He earned his way up. Whole Vietnam story. That's a whole other podcast. It's a whole other podcast. But we would be in these rooms that we didn't belong in, and I saw people who had different lives. Because when you're a kid and say you grow up poor, you grow up rich, or you grow up middle class, it doesn't matter. You kind of have this skewed view of the world that everyone else is like you because you're like people are around like people. You can afford to live in the same neighborhood, so your world is those people. And so I didn't know better until a certain age that there was a different path. And I think I saw it and said, oh, that's mine at a very young age. Always been different in that way. Um, and I just thought it out and made it happen. I worked 3 jobs in college. Like I just made it happen. I chose very different partnerships. For a long time, I pretended I was somebody that wasn't at the root of who I was. Like I denied that I grew up without, you know, a lot of food or never had any brand shoes. And now I feel like that's the thing that qualifies me to be where I am because who's better to help somebody come out of that than somebody who's been through it? So, yeah, I think I think that's what did it.
And that desire to not only provide something better for your kids and whatever, I'm sure is part of that, but you
Yeah.
lived it and you set a vision for yourself early on in life, said that's for me. Like
Yeah.
that's where I want to go. And you were set on doing it. Now, what's kept you on the path though? Because there's a lot of people, I'm going to say there's a lot of people that'll go out there and go, yeah, I want that. But then they go, oh, that's too hard. Or, oh,
It
that's,
is
I
hard.
don't know. Oh, that knocked me down. Or, oh, I just never get the chance because of this. Or, oh, I've got too many other
Yeah.
things. Like, what keeps you going?
I'm very competitive. And I'm very internally competitive. Like I want you to be the best at you in your lane. I'm not competitive to you. I'm competitive to myself. So I always want to be better than the day I was than the day before. Always. And so the drive for that, and just to be honest, opening up a pantry and having it full of food is a great feeling. And, my kids coming into a pantry full of food and going, there's nothing to eat is very pleasing to me.
Do your
So
kids
like,
say
oh,
that
there's
too?
nothing to eat all the
Oh
time,
gosh.
like
Okay.
all the time. And so it's very soothing to me in a way because they don't know. And I'm proud that they don't know. And so I think it shifts as you age and as phases in your life change. So like the first phase out of college is probably like just being able to pay your rent without worrying about whether or not you can buy milk that week was a big phase. And okay, I accomplished that. And then moving up in a position, okay, I accomplished that has always been internally driven for me. And then my husband is very supportive. He lets me be a little nutty. And he's like, that's you, babe, and I love you. Or he'll tell me, you're DTMing, you're doing too much. So he kind of protects me from burning myself into the ground because I've burned myself into the ground quite a few times because you just can't do it all without help. So yeah.
I love your perspective shift on the let's just take the pantry thing, okay? And
Yeah.
my kids go to the pantry and they'll go, ah, "There's nothing here to eat," and I'm going, I don't know. Do my eyeballs like do they work the same as yours? Because I see a whole bunch of stuff in here that you could eat,
Yeah.
and my whole thing is like, oh, they don't appreciate it. And I sit there and I also say,
Hmm.
hey, let's shift your mindsets a little bit not working for you. Let's shift the language to there's nothing in here I want to eat. Like, let's just
Yes.
shift it a bit. I get that. Okay. If you don't want to
Yeah.
eat zucchini noodles, fine, but like, let's be a little bit more precise in what you're saying. But you're just like, you almost hear that and go, you almost smile. Like after they say that, you're
Yeah.
almost like, that's right.
That's right. There's
You
no
know,
food in there.
you're right. You look in there and you deny the fact that thing's full, like that sense of pride is just something really interesting that I think a lot of
We,
people don't experience.
they don't. They don't. And I think you have to have been through that kind of lifestyle to do it. Now, as a kid, I don't think I really fully understood it until I started engaging in other places in the world that it was different. So, which is the great thing about being a kid is that the world is happy for you even when it's not. Um, few exceptions to that. We know what they are. They're terrible and they're on the news. But there's you just don't really realize that until you start getting out into the world, which is why experience I think is so important for people. Be in different rooms, seek different locations, don't go to the same places because you're going to see a different thing that might be your thing. Oh, I want that. But if you don't get out of your little bubble, you'll never see it, you'll never pursue it. And I think that's where a lot of people who don't leave that kind of life or don't choose a different life is because they never saw it. Not because they don't want it, they just never saw it.
Okay. Step out of the bubble because you may miss something.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
And if you're in position to do so, give to a charity that helps kids get out of the bubble. Send
there
them
you
to
go.
camp,
Because sometimes
you know?
people are stuck in the bubble and it's not their choice
Yeah.
to necessarily be stuck in the bubble.
You don't know what you don't know.
There you go.
Sometimes they don't know.
Okay. So how does this lead to this big why? Like, talk about the big why. What is that to you?
So the big why is a Keller Williams sort of hallmark, and it's really narrowing down the process of why you do what you do. And it's almost never money, although money can be a part of it. It's usually something that drives your soul. And for some people, that's, you want to be able to take care of your parents the way they took care of you. For other people, it's like you want to be able to explore the world. It could be any number of things. For me, it's that the cycle of poverty ends at my bloodline. From here going forward, they have an opportunity to be anything they want without the limited struggles of survival in some aspects. And I want to be able to repay the people who helped me along the way. Because even though I feel like I forced a lot of things, I wasn't alone. I had cheerleaders, I had people who maybe sacrificed something that I don't know about yet and stay in my life and stay in contact that maybe they didn't have a better life. And so that's really what drives me is shifting that perspective and making sure that people know that you can call me if you need anything. I may not be able to give you the exact help that you need, but I'll be there for you. Or maybe I can fill that need. I never felt like I had a safety net or someone who I could call when I was in trouble. So I try to be that for other people.
So I I believe in the same type of process. I think that there's your purpose, may shift at certain times in life a bit depending on what you're doing. Your purpose, people will say, my purpose is my family. And I'm like, well,
Is
not
it?
really. Like that's not, I mean, and
Yeah.
money, make more money is not really your purpose. There's something
I
bigger
mean, money
than
is
that.
nice though.
Money is nice. It will enable certain things to happen,
Yeah.
but there's lots of people that have nothing that, money wise and are perfectly content and happy in their purpose in their life and what they're doing, so there's,
And sometimes very wealthy people are the most miserable people you'll ever meet.
they are. And
Yeah.
so I think that there's a balance there. And so when I go through this process, mine is to enable the dreamers of the world to be who they were designed to be. I believe that we were all put on the planet to be and do something. And
Yeah.
some people don't feel they have permission to be that. They feel like they have to be something else or whatever. But
Yeah.
I want to enable them. I want to equip them. I want to tool them. I want to empower them and educate them to be that thing. And so that fuels me. And that is why I do what I do. Now, whether I'm doing that through coaching people like I am now or public speaking, or whether I'm doing that by owning a snow cone machine, you know,
Balloon animals, that's a solid choice.
I
Yeah.
I tried to go into that one time and my fingers got really tired. So I was done.
I'm way too type A for things that like allow for flaws. Like I love scrapbooks. I can't do it. I will get lost into like there's no symmetry here. Let's let somebody else do that.
Is there any symmetry in scrapbooking, or is the point of it not to
No,
have symmetry at all?
that's the point, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I also can't arrange like tchotchkes, like this kind of stuff. My friend comes over because I will just get lost in it. I can't do that. I'm a big picture person, so sometimes those tiny little details will just tsunami me, and we're not getting out of that one.
Okay.
So
Well, then going into how you execute your why, that's something very important to think about. And
yeah,
that self discovery of, hey, this thing kind of lowers what we call your peace index. It lowers that idea of my happiness factor when I get bogged down into doing the nitty gritty stuff.
yeah,
Not what I want to be doing. Now, when I can sit on the mountaintop and strategize, I'm in my
yeah.
happy place. And
I've always wanted minions. This is like where I think when I feel like I've made it is if I have like not minions. That's probably not a kind way to say that, but
I was like the real,
an
like the
army of
cartoon
people.
ones, like,
I would love that because then only I would understand them and no one else could ask them to do
yeah, okay,
something.
all
I mean,
right,
that would
all right.
probably work for me. But, just an army of people that can execute on all the things because my brain goes 100 miles an hour in terms of ideas. And so focusing that on the thing that actually needs to be done is a challenge, but I still want those other things done. So it always eats up a little bit of my mental load. Yeah.
There you
That's when
go.
I've made it. I have an army behind me.
DTM. DTM, Courtney.
DTM and
Um, don't do too much, because here's the thing: when you do too much, you just don't do any of it well. And that's why we
mhm.
need to learn to do that stuff. It's like, how do I delegate well? And then people are like, well, I don't know. I can't delegate well because I don't have anybody, and I can't afford to hire anybody to delegate anything to. So I have to do everything myself. I've been there launching my
Yeah,
small business, and when it was just me, and you know, I get it. I totally get it.
yeah.
How have you battled that thinking?
Oh, it's a daily battle, I will tell you still. But I will tell you that I've sort of grown into this person, and one of my very good friends says that my superpower is this. For you, no is a complete sentence. So you can say no to things. And I know that I feel a lot of pressure to say yes to a lot of stuff. Like, I can do a lot of things, but should I be doing those things? People will ask me, can you? And I can just go, no.
Okay.
And that's sort of how I balance that.
So how do you balance the I need to say yes to certain opportunities to understand, because I've heard this for a number of years, and I want to pick this bone with you because I think it's an interesting discussion. I think we just talk about. I don't think we're going to solve the world's problems, but it's
No,
I've
we're going
heard
to do
this
that
forever.
today.
Yes, today it's done. What
Today it's done.
what? Because did you ever hear that? I think there was a TED talk or something. There's always a TED talk. I'm just gonna say it was a TED talk of someone
Yeah.
that just said yes to everything for like a year. And it was,
Yes, I've seen that one.
do you remember that? And it was just like
Yeah.
all these doors open. It opened up this new philosophy of, hey, everybody needs you to start saying yes to everything because you never know what's going to happen on the other side of that yes. And if you say
Yes.
no, the door remains closed. And
hmm
I've had kind of an issue with that, especially as a coach that's coaching executives and people that are completely underwater and like take on too much and that say yes to everything because they want others. I don't know, there's multiple reasons, but they want others to feel like they're invested in them, or they don't want to let anybody down, or they want to look competent or
Yeah.
whatever. So they say yes to everything, and then it doesn't do anybody any good. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that you have to shift the perspective of what yes means, because there's a tenet in improv that it always goes yes and, right? So if someone comes to you and says, "Could you help me with this?" That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the doer of that. Your yes could be, "Yes, and I know the perfect person for you to talk to." So you can shift that sort of process to still, serving your people pleasing thing if you have that in you. I don't have a people pleasing gene. My son does, but I don't. I'm just like, I don't care what you think of me. But he does. So your process of yes and here's how you do it is not the same as saying yes and you doing it. And I think but most people think yes is I can say yes to everything and I have to do it all. No, you can say yes and point them in the right direction, and that is helping them.
How can people how's the big why fit into all this? Like, does that help people discover that big why for them? Like, how do people go through that process, you feel like, within the community you've been involved with? And I don't know, I'm kind of jumping back to that topic within the context of this, how much like setting boundaries for myself and what do I say yes to? Because I don't want to, limit my potential, and
Yeah.
no, because I don't want to overwhelm myself because then I can't be healthy for everybody else if I'm unhealthy, and drained and burnt out. So I don't know. The big why question kind of comes back to like, is that hinder people? Does that help people? What do you think?
I think be big why first you have to be open to it and it has to be clear. Because if that vision is very clear for yourself, it answers all of those questions for you. And then recentering yourself to that, well, does that fit into this narrative? If I, you know, go down this path, is that going to detract from the ultimate goal of this? Is there another way that I can help someone who's giving and asking me? Because it takes a lot for somebody to ask for help to begin with. I mean, there's a contingency of people that are natural, um, I call them time vampires. There's natural people out there that will just suck the time out of you. So one, being able to recognize those people, because you can't really help those people in the way that they want to be served. You can point them in the right direction, but that's about all you can do for it. They're always going to be seeking somebody else to suck time from. And then narrowing down like the people you really want in your around you. So the top 5 people in your life define you. Make sure they're in alignment with what you want and how you're driven. And that helps you stay on the path for your big why once you've narrowed it down, which is hard work. And if you're not crying, it's not your big why. It's not it.
Hmm.
It's what you're telling yourself is important to you, but it's not actually important to you if you don't feel emotional about it.
Okay.
Keep drilling.
That's big. That's big. What's the first thing? I believe in application, right? Inspiration's great, but we need application to get to transformation. So
Mm-hmm.
where's the application come in? What's one thing somebody can do right now if they're kind of like, I want to do this kind of like, I want to discover this a little bit, this big why thing, or I want to discover kind of more about me and my potential or whatnot.
Yeah. I would say visioning, very clear visioning. So sit down, quiet space, or music playing if that's how your brain works best. Whatever is your sort of like, moment. And really like draw out or write out if you're not artistical. Um, where do you want to be in 5 years? What room are you in? What kinds of things are around you? What do your clothes look like? Who are the people that are around you? And do that again for 10 years and do it again for 15 years and see where that shifts because they will change as you see yourself in an older period. And it shouldn't always be materialistic things, but it should be like, I want to be, living in a van and traveling the world. Whatever your thing is, have a very clear vision of that, but you have to see yourself in the future or you're always living in the present. And if you're living in the present, that's only based on the past, right? Because you don't know anything beyond this day. So you really have to see yourself. And then that will help you drill down to what makes those things happen. And then that helps you drill down to why am I visioning my life that way? Is it sitting at 65 at your Thanksgiving table surrounded by, tons of children and grandchildren or their spouses or whatever that looks like for you? If that's what's important to you, then there's something centric about family that's important to you. And what about family is important to you? If it's, having 15 dogs in a mansion, then maybe that's about having someone you don't have to take care of as extensively as a child, or maybe you weren't able to have a child and you're trying to fill that space for you, and you just want a big old house, then that's something else that's driving you. I don't know. You just got to vision it though. I'd say that's the first step. Envision what you would like it to look like. And there's no thing that's too big. A lot of people think, oh, well, that's not attainable for me. No, everything is possible. What are you willing to sacrifice to get it is whether or not that's achievable.
Said by someone who, before we hit record, said these words, I made this happen.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important to this whole discussion because also earlier you said, I had lots of people, I had cheerleaders, I had people that, maybe they drove you places or that gave you opportunities or that mentored you. And those people are essential for our growth and they help us get to where we get. But it's ultimately us who make it happen because they're all there around us, but it's up to us to actually,
Yeah.
drink the
There
water.
can be 35 people on the bus, but you're the driver, right? And I think a lot of people forget that. They think if, I can't do that because I didn't have a good childhood. I can't do that because I went through a divorce or 3 or 5. I don't know. I can't do that because of this. It's like, well, you're the only person at the center of that. So you can make a different choice. You can take another turn. You can get out of that bus and pick a different bus. You're the driver. No one else is in charge of that. And it's a hard truth for yourself because not everybody's ready to hear that. Like personal accountability does not feel good. It does not always feel good. Sometimes it feels great. Usually it does not feel good because it's a hard truth you're telling yourself. And the brain is amazing. It protects you from as much as it's humanly possible to protect you from, including yourself. So you have to make sure that you're telling yourself what's important truth for your life. And I think that's difficult. That's the hardest part. Let's put that one down. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, agree. Because your brain's pretty smart. It knows
So smart.
it is going to protect you from disappointment and fear and struggle and discomfort. And, it's programmed
Yeah.
to move away from discomfort towards comfort, and to also like that effort thing that we have to make sometimes. Our brain's like, oh, don't make a ton of effort because then you're expending a lot of energy, and just do the stuff that's easy,
Yeah.
you know?
And then you have a society that tells you if you're putting in all that effort, you're a try hard. It's like, well, maybe I am, but look at me now.
Look at me now. Look at me now. And
Look at me now.
look at you now. You made this happen. And that's important, I think,
Sometimes.
to say that and to take pride in your own ability to achieve that, I think is really important for people as well. To own it.
Well, and outside of a conversation like this, I don't say that unless someone asks me, like, how'd you get there? I did it. I wouldn't do it that
You
way,
don't do
but
that?
no,
Oh,
no.
I do that. I'd be like, I
I
did
mean,
it.
I will say, yeah, I did that.
I did that.
It was me. No, I know I wasn't alone, but I know I was the driver of my own bus. I do know that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, understand your role, understand your responsibility, understand that your life is yours. There are people
Mhm.
along the way that are always going to be there to help you. You
Yeah.
don't do it alone, but
And
you are the
hurt
one.
you. There will always be people out there coming for you, and not engaging in that is just as important, right? If everything's always happening to you, the problem is you, right? You're not a victim of everyone. That's not mathematically possible. Everyone in the world can't possibly coming after you. You're either surrounding yourself with the wrong people, or you're seeking that attention,
Hmm.
right? Um, which everybody's got a version of that. We've all dated, the same. Like, why do I keep choosing DJs? Doesn't make any sense to do. They're not the people I want to date. No offense to DJs. Don't at me in the comments. I love a DJ. But you know what I mean? But like, if you're constantly dating the same kind of person and like not getting the different outcome that you want, then that's your choice. And it's not happening to you. You need to choose something else. So,
Yeah, it's happening because of you. Um, and I
yes.
think that's really great. Thank you, Courtney. So, and I've noticed that, and I'm going to say where we've kind of got introduced to the Keller Williams community, and I was at a Keller Williams event a little while ago, and I noticed the energy in that room, the people that were trying to
Hmm.
surround themselves. I think that was part of that community that I was in, was people
Yeah.
that wanted to surround themselves with successful people that were aspirational for them, that were somewhere they wanted to be. And that's what a lot of mentors, a lot of people out there say. It's like, hey, surround yourself with the people that you want to surround yourself and who you aspire to be. And that
Hmm.
will enable you greatly to become that. Now, you
Yeah.
are the driver of your bus,
Yeah, you
but if
are.
you got those people on that bus that are actually pointing the direction and supporting you along the way, telling you how to drive the bus better, all the that's all the gold right there. All the
Always
gold.
good. Always good. Whoever's on your zombie apocalypse team, right? They all need to be playing a role
That's it.
for your survival and your growth. Make sure that you have the right people there.
That's it. Um, awesome. Where do people, if people want to hear more about you, they want to talk to you more, they want to understand a little bit more about what you do, and maybe have you come speak on their stage or do something awesome for them, where do they find you?
Well, you can find me on social media, Courtney Gardner on Facebook, the Courtney G on Instagram. You can always email me, atoluxuryrealestate@gmail.com.
There you go. All right, people, I hope you got something out of this. I did. And Courtney, I think you're
Good.
awesome. I've loved talking to you, and
Likewise.
all of our conversations are super fun. and you're a super fun person. So I hope everybody else had super fun listening to the call.
Well, I will take that compliment and bounce it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good times. I will see you soon.
Bye.
You know what I liked about this whole visioning thing? Now, we've all heard about vision walls and vision boards and vision tattoo. I don't know. You've heard about vision stuff and picturing a vision. And I use that as well in coaching and understanding what we want to change. Well, we've got to have a vision. The vision provides hope for the future. We have no vision. Usually we lack a bit of hope in that thing that we want to attain. But I really like what she said. The vision helps us focus on the future and where we want to go and what we want to do. And if we're not focused on the future, then it's probably because we're too focused on the present, which means that's all based on the past. And the past shapes who we are, but it's not the thing that should steer everything we do in life. Like, let's use it to learn from, let's use it to build off of, and use it to educate us, inform us about where we want to go. But focusing just on the past and the present is not going to build the thing that we need to do for the future. So I really appreciate those words of wisdom. I like this DTM acronym, doing too much. How many of you are doing too much? How many of you are not your best selves because you are DTMing? You're doing too much. If you're not healthy, you cannot give your best to other people. And I coach people on this all the time. People that are just doing too much because they feel like they need to. They feel like it gives them identity. They feel like it gives them a sense of worth. They feel like other people will need them. And what I say is, you want to do things for other people, but in doing too much, you're not able to do all the things that you normally would do for other people and the way that you want to do them. So pay attention to that as well. And so I really want you to focus here on this idea of the big why and why this is all important for figuring out your big why. Self-discovery, it's all part of the puzzle. So I'm really, really grateful for Courtney and her words. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to skotwaldron.com. You can go to LinkedIn. I'm there all the time. Like, subscribe, comment on my YouTube channel. And please go wherever you listen to podcasts and like, subscribe. I don't know if you can like. No, you can't really like. Subscribe on there and follow me and comment and review, please, on the YouTube channel. Not YouTube channel. The podcast episode. Can you tell I'm sleepy? The podcast episode, wherever you are listening to your podcast. So thank you again for being here on another episode of Unlocked, and I'll see you next time.